Okay, we are live. I'm Roberta Glass, and you're listening to my True Crime Report. If you're new here, we talk about true crime cases from a factual court transcript or court video based basis. We also have talk about these court cases from a victim's rights perspective, and the subject of innocence fraud is also a topic that is all discussed here on this channel. If you're interested in those topics, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. And if you like or dislike this video, please feel free to hit the thumbs up or down depending on your reaction. Kouri Richins, that's the subject of today's episode, and the incredible closing argument by Brad Bloodworth, the prosecutor for the state of Utah. Wow, did he do a good job? I don't know what he could have done better, but we're going to go through it. It is an incredible closing argument. He seemed to pull, it's very psychological, so much so that the defense objected after his closing argument to some of the words that Brad Bloodworth used to describe Kouri Richins, or if he was quoting someone who gave testimony in this case. They objected to that too. Now, so closing arguments is like the one time where the prosecutor can say their opinion of the defendant, and they can argue. They can argue what these facts mean. And there were so many things that were left open in this trial as far as what really was the prosecution's theory of this case that we found out during closing argument. For one, there's a lot of strange things about this case. One was that Kouri Richins always, when she's asked what happens, this is also mentioned in the closing argument, she always says it started with this Moscow mule, that they were celebrating her swampland deal of buying a unfinished, what I'd call a mini mansion. Sometimes they call it just like the mansion in this case, that she didn't close on till the day after Eric Richins was found dead. And she said they were celebrating, they had a lemon drop and a Moscow mule, but no alcohol was found in his body. So how are they going to deal with that? How did he ingest this? Is this enough for reasonable doubt for the defense? Also, they had an issue with the drug dealers, the middle woman, Carmen Lauber, and Robert Crozier, the actual drug dealer. Okay, so you have the middle woman who was buying the drugs for Kouri Richins, who also had an issue with opiates at the time, to the drug dealer, Robert Crozier, also had an issue with opiates when he was dealing drugs. So Robert Crozier said he didn't sell any pills with fentanyl. He only sold oxycodone. And if they asked for M30s, which were Roxycodone is the brand name, but it's really Oxycodone 30, they would have gotten Oxycodone 30, but they clearly didn't. What Kouri Richins got was a pill made to look like Oxycodone 30, perhaps even with the brand stamp, a fake brand stamp, just like you get a fake Gucci bag or a fake Chanel bag. It's got the brand on it, but clearly the stitching says it's not a Gucci or it's not a Chanel or it's not a Fendi. Here, this Oxycodone 30 may have had the M30 stamp in the blue color, but it was made to deceive, and it was really just illicitly made fentanyl. Brad Bloodworth cleared that up. Let's get into it. Also, we're going to get into a juror speaks for the first time on Good Morning America. Very encouraging interview from the juror. Basically, she makes it sound like it was unanimous. We'll get into the defense's objection, but mainly I want to go through what I can get through of this incredible closing argument, maybe the best I've ever seen in any case. Was so well done. Remember, there were problems with this case. We remember, if you watch the trial, we had the lead detective basically dropped out of the case. She was either demoted. She's now a dog handler for the police, meaning, I assume she does drug or explosives, dogs. Kind of a demotion from being a lead detective on a murder case, one of Utah's most famous murder cases ever. But she didn't think she had probable cause to treat it like a murder scene, so nothing was really taken much from the scene, which opens up a whole door to argue that you have reasonable doubt, because we don't know if there was any fentanyl in the glasses. We don't know how he was given this drugs. And Robert Crozier says he testified, and the defense was giddy when he testified, the drug dealer, and said, "Oh, if they got fentanyl, they didn't get it from me, because I didn't sell fentanyl. People were really worried about fentanyl." So let's get into that opening, this great closing argument, not opening statement, great closing argument. Let's get into it, shall we? All right, here we go. Just going to start at the beginning. I'm going to be playing it at a speed of 1.5. I think it's still pretty understandable, but we can try to cover all that we can. It's so good. I really would like to cover as much as I can of it.
Kouri Richins feels aggrieved and is thus an intensely ambitious person. She feels aggrieved because growing up, her father was an alcoholic who traded parenting for prison, and her mother a gambler who traded parenting for a casino.
So he's going right to the heart immediately of Kouri Richins' psychology, saying her father traded alcohol for being a father, and her mother was a compulsive gambler. So very much like Kouri Richins' attitude towards her own children, money was always more important, and she talked about scrubbing toilets for her aunt and her aunt's cleaning business, and how she scrubbed the toilets of rich people and dreamed of being rich herself. I mean, to me, it reminds me so much of the Bobby Gentry song that Reba McEntire did a cover of, Fancy. I may have been born just plain white trash, cleaning toilets, but Kouri Richins wasn't my name. She's the hero in her own story. But here the prosecutor is tracing back the origins of Kouri Richins' psychology to her parents. But also her father not only just traded fatherhood for prison and alcohol, he killed a cop. So did this start a lifelong interest in trying to know what it felt like to kill someone? Kouri Richins asked her boyfriend, Josh Grossman, who was in the military, after she murdered Eric Richins, how he felt at knowing he killed someone. It's all covered in the closing argument. Brad Bloodworth doesn't miss a beat in this. Let's take a listen.
Kouri Richins thus worked for her aunt, cleaning the homes of rich people in Park City. She was not beneath those homeowners, but she felt that she was. This fueled in her an intense desire to appear privileged, affluent, and successful. She met Eric Richins. He was a successful business owner. He had money. They had a son, married, and had 2 more sons. Kouri Richins was on her way. But she was unhappy. She wanted to
John Smith. I was told he died, but maybe you're right. Maybe he lived. I couldn't find any information about it. Do you have any information about it? Send it to me, John Smith. You may know better than I did. Because Kouri Richins just said he ran into him, and then I had someone in the comment section said, no, he was killed by her father. You did 6.5 years for that crime. She also mentioned someone being pulled over on the side of the road. So this is what we're talking about. John Smith and I are having a little I'm having a little side conversation with him. But what we're talking about is Kouri Richins wrote her autobiography for her graduate class. And she talked about how her father was an alcoholic, how he fell asleep at the wheel, and he ran into a police officer. And I said, well, what happened she never says what happens to that police officer. Did he live? Was he terribly injured? I heard he was killed, and that's why he did 6.5 years. But John Smith heard he lived. Anybody knows, let me know. Thank you, because I don't want to be putting out false information out into the public, certainly. And I will be happy to make a correction.
Leave Eric Richins, but did not want to leave his money. Their prenuptial agreement meant that if she left him, she would also leave most of his money. So Kouri Richins took $250,000 in equity out of Eric Richins' home without him knowing it, so that she could start her own business and earn enough money to leave Eric Richins. Kouri Richins is intensely ambitious. First with Eric's money and then other people's money, Kouri Richins carefully curated the facade of a privileged, affluent, successful business owner.
And it's really interesting. He goes on to talk about how Kouri Richins wasn't bothered by the testimony which implicated her in her husband's murder as much as she was bothered by the financial testimony by the forensic analyst, accountant, and who analyzed her numbers, her money numbers. Said that really bothered her because the facade was broken, that she was this affluent woman who would, as she looked up after Eric Richins' murder, she looked up prisons for the wealthy and basically the privileged of us, the 1%. She was, as Prosecutor Bloodworth says, shocked and horrified to see the mask, her public mask of success slip. If it didn't slip after the financial analyst said she was $7.5 million in debt, I don't know when it did. But he calls it ambition. I would call it a need for power and control. How does a woman get power in our society? Or anyone, or a man, anyone. It doesn't have to be a woman, but you can get some power through being really good looking, right? She was fairly attractive. But the real power comes from having, they call it FU money, having FU money. And she always wanted these. She said, I had to steal this money from Eric because then I invested and I made $11 million. No, she didn't. She was a $7.5 million in debt. In opening statements, the prosecutor said she was over $4.5 million in debt. But when the financial analyst said it was way worse, $7.5 million. After you're $2 or $3 million in debt, does it even matter anymore? Is it just all play money? Let me know what you think.
Behind the facade, however, Kouri Richins was incompetent. She took tremendous risks. She borrowed money by any means necessary at exorbitant rates. She gambled other people's money and lost. Her business was imploding. All the while, Kouri Richins was more interested in spending time with Josh Grossman than Eric. She dreamed of living in the Midway Mansion with Josh, running it as an event center, farming and raising kids, Eric's kids. But
not for nothing, but can someone tell me, are these big 70s collars back in style, or is Kouri Richins wearing her mother's clothes from the 70s? Or is this come back into fashion? Are they making collars this big now? It hasn't hit New York if it's back in fashion. I haven't seen it really in New York City, but she's had like a couple outfits like this. She had a yellow shirt with like a huge collar like this. Not that I dislike it or like it. It's just really, I find it distracting, frankly. It makes me go off on a line of thinking where I'm thinking about her clothes, and did her mother give her some of her clothes? Where did the defense team get those clothes? Why did she choose to wear those clothes?
she did not have the money to leave Eric or the money to salvage her business. Kouri Richins is an intensely ambitious person. She is a risk taker. There was a way forward. Eric had to die.
A gun may be fired in a flash of anger, a rock carelessly hurled, a shovel swung in sudden fury, but a homicidal poisoning requires a calculating intelligence. Deborah Blum, who wrote the Poisoner's Handbook. Interesting. I wonder if they read this. A lot of women is, the word Black Widow, which the defense objected to, the phrase Black Widow. Excuse me, it's not a word, it's a phrase. There's a reason why it's associated with women, because more women kill, way more women kill using poison than men do.
As Judge Mrazek just instructed, there are 5 counts. And each count has a series of elements. The state has to prove each count and each element of each count beyond a reasonable doubt. That is our burden. In this closing, we will go count by count, and then within each count, element by element, to show to you how the state has met its burden of proving aggravated murder.
Skip by this, but just so you know, aggravated murder, there's 2 factors that make this an aggravated murder. One is that she used illicit drugs to kill Eric Richins, and the other aggravating factor was she did it was a motivation, a money motivation. So those 2 things prove aggravated murder. I'm going to move forward just a tiny little bit and try to go to 624. Here we go.
The evidence will prove that she intentionally or knowingly caused the death of Eric Richins here by means of administering to him the illicit street drugs that she purchased from Carmen Lauber. She intended to kill him with the illicit street drugs. It doesn't matter what illicit street drugs. We'll get into it more.
So here is the prosecution dealing in argument with one of the hardest things about their case, where they have 2 really unreliable witnesses. They have Carmen Lauber, who's changed her story about where she left the drugs. She says she has a terrible memory, that she's ruined her memory, meaning she's fried her brain. I think it was the phrase she used, with opiates. Hardly a drug we think of frying your brain with, but okay. She got caught in lies. They show about her drug court. She essentially was like, it sounded like, had some real issues with keeping sober initially. And then we heard evidence that she used Eric Richins' murder because she was part of it unknowingly. She didn't know that the drugs were being used for that. Kouri Richins told her it was like a colleague of hers with a bad back, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But she used that as motivation to stay sober. So she had Eric Richins' obituary in the Senator Mirror and rehab. That was pointed out by the prosecution. But here the prosecution is saying it doesn't matter what drugs she was after or what drugs she were, if the drugs were different than what she was after and what she got. She was looking for illicit drugs, strong drugs that would kill Eric Richins. I thought he did a fantastic job with this. And he explains it right here. Let's take a listen.
Kouri Richins was a suburban mother real estate agent. She does not know a lot about the illicit street drug world, but she knows Michael Jackson died from taking drugs. She doesn't know how to order a street drug, but
she was asking Carmen Lauber for the Michael Jackson stuff. So when she attempted to murder him on Valentine's Day 2022 and failed because she put it in a bagel sandwich that she got at a diner and left it with a love note on Eric Richins' truck car seat. Eric Richins didn't eat all of it and lived. So then she came back to Carmen Lauber asking for really strong stuff, Michael Jackson stuff. And that's what he's referring to here. Now, Michael Jackson died of propofol. He's saying Kouri Richins doesn't know that. All she knows is Michael Jackson died of drug overdose, and it was a strong drug.
she knows she wants the Michael Jackson stuff. She knows she wants it because it is lethal, it is fatal, it kills. And she wanted lethal, fatal death. Kouri Richins is intensely ambitious. She wanted the perfect life, or at least the appearance of the perfect life. And for her, that meant Josh Grossman. But first, Eric had to go away.
See, and this is what this prosecutor does so well, and what I find is true about all the guilty murderers that I talk about on this channel, is that they all have a facade. They all have a mask that they wear, and you have to go beyond that mask and show the jury the real defendant on trial. It's not enough to keep their image intact and say that they did an awful thing, because those things don't really make sense. How would this nice, reasonable person do this horrible, immoral, cruel, callous act? So I think by repeating this refrain that she's ambitious and that she wanted the appearance, that appearances were very important to her. She wanted the appearance of a perfect life, and the only way she could have that perfect life was if Eric Richins died. Now, if Eric Richins' money was still not enough to pull her out totally of debt, but she would have access, she thought, she didn't really understand the way the trust worked, to all of his money, and she could gamble with more of his and the children and her children's money.
So with these transactions, when Carmen hit you up, what did she tell you?
She told me she had a friend that wanted,
Did she ask for blue specifically, or fentanyl specifically, or did she ask for oxygen? What did she ask for?
No. I think she might ask for blue, like,
But you sold her everything, right?
Yeah, I told her what she knew what she was buying. Right?
So with these transactions, when
I'm going to go back to the beginning and slow this down. This is Robert Crozier's interrogation. So they've titled it, for those listening on podcast, Carmen Lauber purchased illicit street drugs from Robert Crozier. So they're saying it doesn't matter what she thought she was getting. What she wanted was illicit strong drugs, and that's what she got. And here's Robert Crozier, where he admits that he sold fentanyl in the interrogation. Take a listen.
Carmen hit you up, what did she tell you?
She just told me she had a friend that wanted,
Did she ask for blue specifically or fentanyl specifically, or did she ask for oxygen? What did she ask for?
No. I think she might have asked me for blue. I can't remember.
But you sold her M30, right?
Yeah, I told her what she knew what she was buying.
Okay, so it wasn't like she's asking for oxy or something like that. She got the M30.
Right, no.
Okay, so she knew that there was fentanyl in those pills.
At Kouri Richins'
Very different than how he testified under oath, which was, I would never sell fentanyl. People were worried about fentanyl. There was no fentanyl in the pills I sold, which makes you think that either, I don't know, is he back in business? Is he back in business? Was this an advertisement? Was his testimony an advertisement for his business? I don't know. Or was it just a way to give the middle finger to the prosecution? But also, he said he was in terrible withdrawal. It's hard to tell from this angle. But he's not certainly not shifting in his seat. It doesn't look like he's getting freezing cold or freezing hot. He's certainly not throwing up. He seems pretty relaxed answering those questions. So I don't know. I don't think they would do an interview like that if he was in such intense withdrawal, but who knows?
request, Carmen Lauber purchased illicit street drugs from Robert Crozier. It's those illicit street drugs that killed Eric Richins. It's those illicit street drugs that Kouri used to murder Eric Richins. And while there may be some question as to whether she specifically ordered fentanyl or she knew she was getting fentanyl, the evidence proves she at least knew it. She wanted fatal, lethal, illicit street drugs. And all the testimony from Carmen Lauber, Robert Crozier, digital forensics, we'll get into it, all confirm that Kouri Richins ordered and received illicit street drugs, and that those street drugs contained fentanyl. Illicit street drugs is all that matters. But you heard the testimony that despite confusion in what people were ordering, people were getting fentanyl. The fake M30s look like the real, the fake M30s look like the real M30s. Everything on the street in early 2022 had fentanyl. That's how we know that it was this purchase that ended up killing Eric. It's the fentanyl. We can trace the fentanyl. Next slide. The digital forensics corroborate Carmen Lauber's testimony that 5 days before Kouri Richins murdered Eric Richins, Carmen Lauber purchased for Kouri Richins fentanyl from Robert Crozier at the Maverick in Draper. The call detail records show an extraordinary amount of overlapping communication between Carmen Lauber, Kouri Richins, Carmen Lauber, Robert Crozier during that time. We, of course, don't have the communications. Carmen Lauber deleted them because they were evidence of a drug deal. Kouri Richins deleted them because they were evidence of a drug deal and a murder. Robert Crozier said he had lost his phone. But that's an extraordinary number of communications. We know that Kouri Richins, the evidence proves that Kouri Richins used a Moscow Mule and a shot to administer the fentanyl to Eric.
This is really interesting. This is Kouri Richins' word, right, from her notebook. Sometimes I refer to this as her diary. It's the orange notebook found by her bed. But, oh, my cat is causing problems. Hold on 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I just got to let him out. Hold on 1 second. Does anyone else have a cat like that who hates closed doors? I don't know. I don't know if anyone else does. Okay. But I mean, this is all Kouri Richins' words, not the most reliable narrator, but I found this part of the closing fascinating. This is the first time we really heard the prosecution's theory as to how she killed him. The defense, and I've shown you those in other episodes. I don't think it's necessary that we go back and look at it. I think you can take my word on it. But the defense was giving interviews to the news saying the prosecution says this happened. This was put in a Moscow Mule. There's no evidence that it was put in a Moscow Mule. You're saying, how do you substitute the bitter taste of alcohol for the Kouri Richins? They're saying essentially substituted the bitter taste of alcohol for the bitter taste of fentanyl. And it would have had, I think, pretty much a bitter taste. I would think.
She writes it in her orange notebook where she journals what happened the night she murdered Eric. It's a self-serving journal. We'll discuss that down the road. But she wrote Moscow Mule and a lemon drop shot. And that is consistent with all the toxicology. Again, in the notes that investigators recovered from the kitchen cabinet.
Wesley, thank you for money for the cat door fund. I appreciate it. I don't know if you can hear him meowing. Now the door's open and he's just meowing on the other side of it. It's, if you don't know, here's the culprit. This is the culprit right there. Wanted for extreme meowing during the live stream. Thanks, Wesley. I appreciate it. Oh, la. Something always, you just got to run with it, I guess. I don't know.
In Kouri Richins' home, she wrote Moscow Mules. Lemon water, vodka, and rum. She left out the main ingredient, which of course is the ginger beer. But there was ginger beer. We know that from the Cock and Bull that OME investigator Cam Sessions found in the trash can.
So Cock and Bull is ginger beer, for those that don't know. I had a friend in high school who loved ginger beer, drank a lot of it. I've never been particularly fond. I'm more of a root beer person, cream soda kind of person myself. But that's what he's saying, the main ingredient. And he pauses, and you think he's going to say fentanyl was the main ingredient. But he goes, of course it was. Of course it was ginger beer, because we know, because that was in the trash. But he goes on to say she essentially made a non-alcoholic Moscow Mule, and somehow her Seroquel prescription got in it, and he'll get into that too. All was explained in this fantastic, fabulous closing that I never mind looking at again.
In the kitchen. It's interesting that Kouri Richins wrote vodka in parentheses rum. The evidence may show that the Moscow Mule she made that night was ginger beer and fentanyl. The lemon drop shot, maybe lemon and fentanyl.
So what does that mean when the prosecutor says the evidence may show? Meaning you're the fact finder's jury. You may decide to accept our theory that she put no alcohol. That's why she was so loosey-goosey about whether it could be rum or vodka. She may have just skipped that altogether and put fentanyl in it, and maybe a little Seroquel chaser. Maybe they say that the lemon drop could have had fentanyl in it too instead of alcohol, or it may have a Seroquel chaser. Don't know, but some of her Seroquel prescription from 2018 showed up in his autopsy. And no THC and no alcohol, which was a big toughie for the defense, because their whole defense was that he had a problem with drugs. Look at all the pot gummies that were found in the home. I mean, I think an argument could be made that Kouri Richins may have partook in those pot gummies a lot more than Eric Richins.
Notice that here she writes drink in bed. We'll come back to that in a minute. The cock and bull, as I mentioned, corroborates at least the Moscow Mule. And that we know the cause of death from the death certificate was fentanyl. The fentanyl and the illicit street drugs that Kouri Richins got from Carmen Lauber, who got from Robert Crozier. We know that Eric ingested the fentanyl from the Moscow Mule, the lemon drop shop, or both. Medical examiner Dr. Pamela Ulmer, toxicologist Brianna Peterson, chief medical examiner Dr. Eric Christensen, all testified that the 20,000 nanograms per milliliter of fentanyl, an extraordinary amount, in his stomach indicates oral ingestion. Indeed, Dr. Christensen not only testified to it, he told Kouri Richins that in their phone call that she recorded.
Let's get to that phone call, right? I think it's just a couple. Oh, here's where they talk about the prescription, her prescription in the body. On the presence of acetonol fentanyl, meaning is also more consistent with this being illicit fentanyl than otherwise, is a variant of fentanyl that is in our office. Certainly we've only seen in the setting of illicitly manufactured fentanyl. So this was probably fentanyl that was manufactured possibly in Mexico or China. There's not, or maybe America, but don't know. That's usually where it's coming
There was
from.
norfentanyl, which was a marker of an illicit fentanyl.
Oh, right. There's norfentanyl, which is a marker of illicit fentanyl. But here it goes to Eric Richins had Kouri Richins' prescription. This is the Seroquel in her body, and it goes to Kouri Richins. This was a shocker during the trial. We hadn't heard this before, at least I hadn't, that she called the medical examiner to talk about the toxicology results. Take a listen.
We also know that Kouri Richins intended to kill Eric Richins because the toxicology contained quetiapine.
You got to may have lost the audio. Let's reset. My apologies.
Quetiapine is an antipsychotic medication.
Last one. What is quetiapine? Quetiapine?
Quetiapine is an antipsychotic medication. It's called Seroquel.
Okay.
It's a prescription, mental health medication that's prescribed for different things.
I gotcha.
To be fair to Kouri Richins, not that I, have a great desire to be fair to a convicted murderer, attempted murderer, and fraudster, but the other side of that argument is when doctors ask you what medications you are, half the time people don't know what the name of it is. They don't. How many times do they know the brand name and not the official name? So she could have known Seroquel and not quetiapine. I mean, to be fair, but you would think that she would have looked it up on her phone and been like, oh yeah, but she knows what it is because she's the one who administered it to him. But it's clear from this phone call that she's tailoring she's trying to figure out all she can about the evidence so she can tailor a new story to it.
The quetiapine in the toxicology for Eric Richins shows that Kouri Richins was involved because she was prescribed quetiapine. Now, this conversation that she recorded with Dr. Christensen is also very insightful. She pretends to not know what quetiapine is. It's her prescription. Of course she knows what it is. She pretends to not know what it is to cover up her involvement in putting the quetiapine inside Eric's body. she feigns the ignorance. She covers up her conduct in murdering Eric Richins in several ways throughout, beginning the night she murdered him, all the way through the walk the dog letter. In the orange notebook, she writes, she jumped out of bed, ran, turned on the lights, grabbed her phone, and called 911. The evidence proves that is not true. The evidence proves that when she returned to their bedroom, Kouri Richins says she was in Ashton's room. There's no evidence of that.
That's a really important detail. So something I pointed out, something that you couldn't miss if you followed this trial and really followed Kouri Richins' own words, is that she was constantly establishing an alibi. When asked on the 911 call, what you expect to see is Kouri Richins trying to get help for her beloved husband, Eric Richins, who she, according to her, found not breathing and without a pulse and cold and heavy, right? You would think, he's not breathing. How can I do CPR? How can I help? But no, the most important thing was to give an alibi. I was in my son's room. He was having night terrors, and then I came in. So most important thing is that Kouri Richins has an alibi, that she wasn't anywhere near Eric Richins when he died. And she was not part of the causation of his death. I thought this was so effective of the prosecution. Will hammer home this fact that Kouri Richins' alibi is most important. And they will go through the 911 call and prove that she wasn't talking on speakerphone, as she told the 911 operator, that she was talking via receiver, phone receiver, and that she didn't do any of the things that she was telling the 911 operator she was doing, like CPR.
She returned from somewhere to their bedroom, unlocked her phone, put it on speaker. There's no call detail records showing a call at that time. But she may have called on Wi-Fi, somebody. That would not appear in the call detail records. It would appear on her phone if her phone had not been deleted.
Objection, Your Honor. These are facts that are
Overruled.
wrong.
Please have a seat.
She then unlocked her phone again at 3:08, 3:10, 3:15, 3:19, 3:19. And then 15 minutes later, she called 911. That is not immediately called 911.
Right. She didn't immediately call 911, but there you saw Kouri Richins, if you're listening on the podcast, get really angry at the idea that she deleted her phone calls and that she may have called someone else before she called 911. And the defense, it's considered very rude to interrupt with an objection in either opening or closing. It really should only be served for real emergency violation of your rights. This is all argument. He can basically say whatever he wants. He's referring to facts and evidence, but he's allowed to argue. And he's bringing up the facts that form the basis of his argument. They're right behind him. So it's really a lame attempt to throw Brad Bloodworth off of his game, and he's on his game. I mean, you can't be any more on his game. If you go through this closing argument, it's so easy to see how he goes from one subject to the next and how he's covering all his bases. And he's really backing up. This is why Kouri Richins was so defeated and deflated. That's how she was described at the end of this closing argument, even before the jury came back, by this devastating closing argument, because it not only put forth a very strong prosecution case on all the evidence, but it left the defense nowhere to go with reasonable doubt. So they can say, well, Robert Crozier testified that he didn't sell fentanyl. The middle woman, Carmen Lawbers, really not a very trustworthy witness. They both got deals, so the jury was instructed that they could look at those deals and totally negate if they wanted to. They can negate any testimony that they want or any evidence that they want. They can toss it out if they don't see it through the fact finders. But that they could consider that these people got deals for their testimony. They got immunity for their testimony. So were they just saying, I could think what the defense would want you to conclude is that they're just saying what the defense wants you to say, wants them to say. Forget them. But it's a problem because what did Kouri Richins want when she asked for Michael Jackson drugs? Pretty vague. So Brad Bloodworth, Prosecutor Bloodworth, cleared that up. She wanted illicit drugs and she wanted strong drugs and she wanted drugs that killed. End of story. And that's what she got. Whatever Robert Crozier thought he was selling, he was selling fentanyl. And that's what she got. And that's what was found in Eric Richins' stomach. The defense, when cross-examining the lead detective that took over after the detective that either got demoted or quit or whatever happened to her, we didn't find out exactly, who became a dog handler. The detective that became lead detective on this case was excellent, Jeff O'Driscoll. When the defense was cross-examining Jeff O'Driscoll, the lead detective on this case, they said, well, there's no murder weapon was found. He's like, well, there was a lot of no drugs found, no murder weapon. He was like, well, there was a lot of fentanyl found in Eric Richins' stomach. I felt like I was on Family Feud. Good answer. Good answer. Detective O'Driscoll. Good answer. But we know she got the fentanyl because of the cover-up, because of her own words, because of her own actions, because of all the phone calls. Now, we didn't see the basis of what was on those phone calls, but between Carmen Lauber and Robert Crozier, she certainly wasn't getting it anywhere else. There was nowhere else Eric Richins, despite Sky Lazaro, Kouri Richins' first high-powered defense attorney, who she gave a down payment of over retainer of over $100,000 to get. Sky Lazaro had a private detective trying to make a connection between Eric Richins and Mexican drug cartels. LOL. Hate to inform you, none was found, no connection was found. And the defense really didn't establish anyway that if Kouri Richins didn't get these drugs, who did? I know they don't have to prove it. They only have to show that there's reasonable doubt, but I thought the prosecution did a great job of closing up any kind of areas of reasonable doubt in this fantastic closing argument.
Perhaps she was staging the scene during these 15 minutes. We're going to discuss the 911 call in a minute. This is a receiver activation. At 3:22:12, when we're in the 911 call, she's on receiver on her phone. The 911 call operator asks her, are you on speakerphone? She says yes. No, she's on receiver. Before we play this, sorry, we're going to listen to the first part, actually most of the 911 call again. I ask that as you listen to it, you'll hear the first minute. The first minute is not the sound of a wife becoming a widow. To echo her friend Chelsea Barney, the first minute is the sound of a wife becoming a black widow. Listen to how Kouri.
So this is one of the things that the defense objected to and tried to call a mistrial. Hold on one second. I'll just show you here. This is one of the many times in this trial they asked for a mistrial. And one of the bases was the quote of She didn't act like a grieving widow on the 911 call. She acted like a black widow. So he's quoting some testimony, and prosecutors say they defamed their. She's on trial for murder, attempted murder, and fraud charges, but she's been defamed by the prosecutor during closing arguments. Take a listen.
Spider, calling her
Whoops,
prosecution's closing. He made efforts to dehumanize the defendant. In fact, calling her a black widow, comparing her to a deadly.
Right. We got to see these murderers as full. We don't. This is something I've been accused of. Of not being gentle enough with these convicted and accused murderers. How dare you try to dehumanize someone who not only kills their husband, but sentences their children. Their 3 boys. Kouri Richins and Eric Richins had 3 boys. And still, I mean, she still does, but they're being raised by Eric Richins' family, not hers. But she sentenced them to a life sentence of grief when she murdered their father, their very loving, devoted father.
Spider, calling her a narcissist when there's been no evidence introduced to support that, no expert testimony, nothing of the nature. Furthermore, it's completely improper for the prosecution to comment on her demeanor while she sat at counsel table. That's a comment on her failure to testify. Asking the jury to take into consideration facial expressions, which in his opinion may or may not have happened.
Facial expressions that may or not. This is when he says that you can see during the 911 call she's not phased when that was played, but she was phased during the financial testimony. You can look at her and see, because the appearances are everything to Kouri Richins. That she wasn't wealthy and successful was shattered by the forensic accountant's testimony. But that's just a little bit of the defense's objection that gets overruled. But they asked for a mistrial so many times. I mean, more times than you can count in this
I don't know
case.
what he's basing that on, but it's improper, and it's our suggestion that is a comment on her failure to testify by revealing what her response to testimony was, is calling upon her to testify in this case.
Okay, right. It was not a comment at all on her failure or not failure to testify. It was a comment on her reaction to, and she's the one who made faces, who said, "What are they talking about?" There's one point in the closing argument, she turns to her defense attorney, and you can clearly hear her say, what are they talking about? Meaning, what is Brad Bloodworth talking about there? I mean, she's the one who wanted to communicate to the jury without getting under oath and testifying, not just through her face, but her words, her rolling of her eyes. So they want it both ways. She wants to be able to roll her eyes and make faces, but the prosecutor can't dehumanize her or remark on her faces, because that's somehow commenting on her right to remain silent. I mean, come on, and not testify. Some nonsense. We had a great judge in this case too. Judge Masrick was excellent.
Kouri Richins, on the 911 call, immediately presents, very soon after the call begins, presents her alibi narrative. Listen to how she tells the 911 dispatcher where she was when Eric died. She is distancing herself. Rather than, he's not breathing, he has no pulse, I have to figure out what to do, I need help. She's saying, hey, look, I was not there, I was in my son's room. That's her alibi. She's distancing herself from the time and the place that she murdered Eric.
Right. And that's something that I remarked on over and over again in analyzing Kouri Richins in this trial, is her absolute need to put her alibi first and distance herself from the scene of the murder. Allie, thanks so much for the super sticker. Yeah, that shirt is so weird, isn't it? People call it her shower curtain shirt. I mean, it really is. It does look like a bedspread or a shower curtain. Do you think it's polyester or cotton or rayon? All right. See, I get very distracted by these big collared shirts. They just...
The 911 call operator asks her to perform CPR. Notice how she distances herself from that. No, I don't know how. No, he's too heavy. No, I can't move him. She is not immediately trying to revive him. We're going to run a clock from the time that the dispatcher asks her if she can start CPR to the time she purportedly starts it. It's 6 minutes. Listen, please, to the portion of the 911 call where the operator instructs Kouri Richins how to remove Eric from the bed. Listen how the dispatcher says, move to the side of the bed. Kouri
And then he makes a remark, just spoiler alert, where he talks about how Kouri Richins refers to Eric Richins as an it. I can't move it instead of him. That's something I missed. We'll listen to the 911 call here.
Richins says she does. Remove the pillows, pull the arm, pull the leg, lift up the sheet, pull him off. If Kouri Richins is following the instructions of the 911 dispatcher, Eric Richins' body is on the floor on the side of the bed, not the foot of the bed where it was found. Listen also to her choice of language. She has dehumanized Eric Richins. When she is talking about removing Eric from the bed and she is protesting and she's saying she cannot, she is not saying, I can't move him.
Is Polyester your favorite movie, Wesley? Greer Yeaton is, I think she's now like a showrunner person in her own right, but she was one of my really good friends. She's John Waters' goddaughter. I went to Sarah Lawrence with her. Lovely, lovely lady. Her mother, Pat Moran's a casting agent. Did she do The Wire? I want to say she did The Wire. She did a lot of big movies and shows, but she started out acting in John Waters movies. Just a little side.
She is saying, I can't move it. Eric is no longer a him to him. She murdered Eric. Eric is an it. Finally, listen to when she says she is performing CPR and the phone is on speaker. The phone's not on speaker. Determine whether she's performing CPR. Okay, Scott.
I'm not breathing. He's cold. Okay, what's the address? 282 Willow Court. 282 Willow Court.
This is the part, I wrote it down in my notes. But where she says to her lawyers, what are they talking about? That's what someone was asking, what she says to her lawyers. At one point she says, what are they talking about? And I think it was during the 911 call. You can hear it pretty well if you're wearing headphones and listening.
Okay, what's the good phone number in case we get disconnected? 435 671 4987. Okay, it's going to be in Francis. Okay, tell me exactly what happened. I don't know. I was thinking with my kids. Okay, I can't understand you. I need you to take a deep breath. What's going on?
Can you stop your whining? I'm sorry, I can't hear you, miss. There you're whining. Will you please refrain from the high-pitched whining and just tell me what happened? Yeah, it was about like 5 minutes ago. Wait, hold on. I'll go back. She just says, what are they talking about? She makes faces, rolls her eyes. I mean, this is real grief. This is Eugene or Gene Richins, Eric Richins' father. He's been like a warrior through this trial. I hear they're also relieved that it's over. Some of the relatives spoke. We'll look at that in a second.
I I don't know. I was sleeping in with my kids. I just came in our bed, and I turned over, and he's just cold. He's just cold. Who's cold? My husband. I turned the light off. And he's not breathing? He's not breathing? No. I need you to confirm it for me. Is he not breathing?
I disagree with the transcript that says no audible response. It's a very, I think I hear her saying no, whining no 2 times in this really pathetic, put on, bad acting way. No, no. So glad he's dead. I can buy my mini mansion on swampland that the army can go in and do tests on anytime they want. Doesn't that sound like a great $2.2 million investment? Law.
Okay, can you do CPR? No, I don't know how. You don't know, I'm going to tell you how to. Are you willing to do CPR? Yeah. Okay. If there's a defibrillator available.
I don't know how to. How many people are you? That wasn't the question. Do you know how to do CPR? Are you willing to do CPR? She's essentially saying, no, I don't want to do CPR. I waited this long to make sure he was dead before calling you. Paramedics said he was dead for quite some time. So why would I do pointless CPR when I made sure that he was dead before I called? It's really interesting in the opening statements. I pointed this out in a different episode. The defense says something like, Eric Richins was using Kouri Richins' phone at 10 something when Kouri Richins isn't supposed to be anywhere near him, right? She's supposed to be in Ashton's room. The defense is saying in their opening that Eric Richins is checking up on Kouri because she was a thief and a fraudster and a liar. So when you see the evidence in this case, the defense was saying something like, you'll know why he was checking your phone. Prosecution is putting all that to rest, saying there's no evidence she was ever in Ashton's room. And she could have watched him die. Essentially, that's what they're saying.
Available. Send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it. No, thank God. Available? Okay. I'm sending the paramedics to help you now. Stay on the line and I'll tell you exactly what to do next, okay? Okay, are you right by your husband right now? Yeah, he's so pale. His mouth is so pale. Okay, listen carefully. Are you able to lay him on the floor or the ground on the ground? I can't touch him. I can't. You can do it. You can do it. You need to calm down.
So she shows some fear towards her husband's dead body, which is not unusual to have fear around a dead body. But she's just wasting time. I mean, all this is done to convince the 911 operator that she's really upset and she's really surprised. That's what this is about. And she doesn't want to do CPR because she knows it's pointless.
We need to help him. I can guide you through CPR. Take a deep breath for me. I'm here with you. He doesn't have a pulse. He doesn't have a pulse.
Right. She's saying he's yellow. He doesn't have a pulse. Don't make me do CPR. Just get over here. This is really not a call for help. This is a call to report that he's dead. And that's what so many of these guilty murderers do when they call 911. They're just reporting that someone is dead. And hopefully they're hoping that it will be categorized as an accident or something else other than the murder that it is. But look at Eric Richins' family. Their reaction is like, I can't believe this woman. How long are you going to delay calling 911? Because you already, according from finding him, you waited 15 minutes to call 911. We don't know what she did because she deleted all those calls. It's amazing that they can't recover these deleted calls on cell phones, but
No. There's no pulse. Okay, I'm here with you. I'm here with you. We need to get him help.
I need to go back to my alibi. I didn't hear anything. I wasn't in the room. Did you get that I was in my child's room because he was having night terrors. Did you get that? Did you get it? Did you understand? Because if I keep making my voice higher, will you think I'm really upset? I just want you to know I was not near my husband when he passed away at a ridiculously young age in a highly suspicious way. I just want to make sure. Let's just go back 5 seconds. So she's saying there's no pulse, he's yellow. And once again, she wants to say she wasn't with him. The alibi is the most important thing. It's not getting help. She's got to report this murder and she's got to get an alibi for herself. Those are the most important things.
Okay, I'm here with you. I'm here with you. We need to get him help.
I didn't hear anything. I wasn't in the room, Kouri Richins says. And the 911 operator is going, "What are you doing, lady? Do you care about your husband or not? Because I'm offering you help. And you're going on about where you were, what you heard, your alibi, that he's yellow, that you don't know how to do CPR, that he has no pulse. Anything but attending to helping your husband, who you're supposed to love and cherish."
If you need to put me on speaker, put me on speaker. I'm going to guide you through CPR, okay? Okay.
What's so interesting also is that, sorry, I'm going to stopping this. I'm going to let this play after this. But what's so interesting is that the defense opened with this 911 call thinking it was great for their defense, that it showed Kouri Richins surprised and shocked. But I don't know anyone in my audience who listens to this 911 call who thinks it's genuine. Does anyone think this call is genuine in my audience? I don't think so. I don't know. If you do, speak up and say why.
I'm ready. You ready? Okay, he's on the floor? He's on the bed. Okay, are you able by any chance to move him on the floor? Pop on it. I don't know what's happening. Okay, I'm here with you. You're not able to move him to the floor? Go up. Don't come in here. Oh my God, my sister. You're not able to move him to the floor? Just listen carefully. We just need to get him on the floor. Don't worry about hurting them. No, he's a daddy. Is he still on the bed? Yes. Okay, if there's a sheet or a blanket under them, can you loosen it from the mattress? Yes. Okay, stand at the side of the bed closest to.
Marlene says, "I didn't fear my grandmother's dead body. Like none in our family. No one in our family," she's saying, "feared my grandma's dead body. My father actually laid down with her after she was deceased." Wow. So why the kids were not there, right? All this is just one big lie. It's just reporting a death.
Anything under the head? Okay. I need you to pull the sheet towards you and slide them off the bed. Don't worry about him falling. We just need to help him now. Okay. Tell me when he's on the floor. I can't move it. It's a dead weight. You're not. If he has sheets under.
Did everyone hear that? There's where I missed this before. I can't move it. It's just dead weight. I mean, great quote for if you're doing a thumbnail, doing a live stream on this case. It's just dead weight. That's how she saw Eric Richins. She could have used any words in her vocabulary to describe heavy. And she uses the words dead weight. Something slowing her down. He didn't believe in me, she told her friend. Or actually, Eric Richins' friend, too. Bryce. You heard that evidence. He's just dead weight. Not helpful to Kouri Richins anymore.
Pull them to the floor. Don't worry about hurting him. Can you please send somebody? Okay, I have the ambulance that's on the way. Okay, there's another way to do this, okay? Grab their feet. Grab his feet. Slide them towards you until they're just off the bed. How old is your husband?
39.
39? Yes. Okay. Okay, were you able to throw his feet off the bed?
Absolutely.
Okay, now grab the arm closest to you and pull the rest of the way off the bed. Again, don't worry about the fall. We just need to help them now. I have the ambulance on the way. I just need you to do this, okay, so we can get the help for him.
Okay.
When they arrive, they'll take over. We just need to start CPR now. You are doing great, okay? I just need
You're doing great. Maybe if we just give you compliments that you didn't earn, you'll actually start doing CPR. Unreal, right?
you to get him on the floor.
Okay, from the floor.
You got him on the floor?
Yeah.
Okay, listen carefully, okay? Make sure that there's nothing under his head. Is he laying flat on his back?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, just listen carefully and I'll tell you how to do chest compressions, okay? Place the heel of your hand on the breastbone. This is in the center of the chest, right between the nipples.
Okay.
Put your other hand on top of that hand.
Okay.
Okay? Stop pumping the chest hard and fast, at least.
Are you guys looking at this counter? How brilliant is this? Time elapsed from when the dispatcher mentioned CPR to when Kouri Richins supposedly started CPR. We have almost 6 minutes where Kouri Richins has hemmed and hawed.
Twice per second and 2 inches deep. Okay, start counting out loud so I can count with you, okay? We're gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Let me know when you're ready.
1,
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Count out loud so I can hear you. I'm counting with you. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. If it's easier for you, am I on speaker?
yes.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you know the front door is open?
No, it's locked.
I need you to go. Is there anybody else within the home or is it just you?
That's all my kids.
Okay. Are one of them old enough to go and lock the door?
Yeah, it's unlocked.
It's unlocked now?
Yeah, he's here. He's there.
Okay.
Wow, she didn't mind sprinting over. She wasn't so involved in CPR that she couldn't leave to unlock the door.
Ethan. Yeah. The protesting. It was part of the 6-minute delay in Kouri Richins performing CPR. I can't move it. It is just dead weight. Contrast that 911 call with her self-serving text message to her best friend, Chelsea Barney. I tried so hard to save him, his lifeless body on my bedroom floor. I pumped so damn hard, so hard, screaming at him to come back to life, that I needed him. None of that happened. She's covering up her involvement in murdering Eric Richins.
Yeah, I told the I told the 911 operator he was yellow, he didn't have a pulse, he was too heavy to move. I gave all the excuses I could. I delayed as much as I could.
Recall the alibi narrative at the beginning of the 911 call. Her letting the 911 operator and everyone know that she was not with Eric when he died. I was somewhere else. I was distant in place and time. When she calls her father-in-law, Eric's dad, Gene Richins, what does she say right at the outset? I was sleeping with Ashley and I came into the room. Gene, I wasn't there. Wasn't me. When Eric's sister Katie arrives, he wasn't breathing. I went to bed. I was in Ashton's room. He was having nightmares. I wasn't there. It was not me. Her alibi. Her cover-up. This is the written form that sheriff's deputies gave Kouri Richins early morning of March 4th. to write out what happened. It says, describe in detail what you saw, know, or heard of the incident. Where does she start? Eric and I put the kids to bed around 9 p.m. We had a drink. In Kouri Richins' mind, that's when the incident started. It was the drink, and she knew it because she put the fentanyl in the drink. She didn't start with, I walked into the bedroom at 3 a.m. My husband was not breathing and cold. Describe the incident. The incident for her begins around 9:15 when she has the drink, because she knows that is in fact when the incident began. And then more of her self-serving.
What do you think of that face right there?
That is in fact when the incident began.
To me, that looks like you caught me. I hate you. You figured it out.
And then more of her self-serving alibi narrative. It wasn't me, I wasn't there. Before she gets into really what matters.
A little bit of fear, too. It's like she knows it's over. She knows it's over. I mean, he really goes to town on this alibi narrative. And then when he comes, let's see how she... So let's just see how a reporter described her mood during the verdict reading. But I think this mood happened way beforehand during the deflated and defeated. I think she got deflated and defeated during that closing. Let's take a listen to, this is KSL News on the Kouri Richins guilty verdict. Links are in the description of each and every episode in the show notes if you want to look at this yourself without my interruptions.
A jury of 8 decided she was guilty of killing her husband, Erin.
She was also found guilty on counts of attempted murder, insurance fraud, and forgery.
That's everything. Every single count in 3 hours or less, something like that. It was like 3 hours. But it takes a little bit for them to go to actually what happened in the courtroom. So here are some of the reporters.
It's where they'll stay.
Maybe they have some relationship with her in prison, but this family's going to guard those boys and take care of those boys, and they're going to be raised at every bit as well as they would have in Eric's custody.
Squirtus predicts Kouri will spend the rest of her life in prison.
On an aggravated murder, it would be hard to imagine anyone serving less than 40 or 50 years. And really, I don't see the Board of Pardons ever releasing her.
He says the Richins ask for privacy now, but he expects they'll want to share their piece soon. They finally have answers 4 years after Eric's death.
They were very calm, I think reassured, and maybe just relieved that this, what they've been waiting for so long, was finally over.
Yesterday on our show, we were talking about closing arguments, and you had said, you know, over your long history of being in the courtroom, that basically you could say for a day of trial, you're going to have an hour of jury deliberation. So you thought maybe by the end of the week, and then it was 3 hours.
Right. Yeah. Pretty
Holy
surprising.
cow.
Yeah, there were people in my audience who were predicting 2 hours. I thought that was a little quick. I didn't think we would get a verdict. I hate predicting jurors' verdicts. I thought it would be a guilty verdict. That was just my sense. There's no innocence fraud campaign for Kouri Richins. It's pretty clear to me that the evidence was overwhelming in this case. And the true crime YouTubers who were saying it was an iffy case and maybe she would be acquitted, I thought were gaslighting their audience. But it was a very quick verdict. It was very much akin to the turnaround in Charlie Adelson's. I mean, what it told me, how quick we got a verdict in this case, was that the jury hated her. They were going to give her the benefit of the doubt. Not at all. Not at all. I mean, she wrote down what she did. I mean, how do you get we're going to go back to the rebuttal in a second. I just want to show you some of the reactions and some of the views from the courtroom, also the juror, and then we'll go back to how they really saved the walk the dog letter for the rebuttal. And the defense closing was unremarkable and unimpressive.
Yes. We did have, Shelby Lofton in the courtroom. Shelby, are you with us this morning?
Yes, I am. Good to be with you both.
Good to be with you again. Can you tell us sort of what we saw from Kouri's reaction after the verdict was read?
Absolutely. So I was seated directly behind her. The judge had Kouri in her counsel stand as well as the prosecution. And we saw as soon as we heard that first count, aggravated murder, guilty, she hung her head. And then I was watching the stream from my phone and I could see that she took a deep breath out when that guilty came out. And then with each count that came after that, she had a similar expression. And I never saw her lift her head after that. She looked pretty deflated and defeated.
I would say that's the look that went through most of, I mean, sometimes she was more defiant when she felt that the prosecution was making fictitious claims, like she called someone else before she called 911, which we don't know she did because she deleted her phone records. But we also know that she has made fun. We heard evidence in court. She's made fun of the times the prosecutor had a theory where they were bang on correct about, which was that she gave Eric Richins that sandwich with a love note on Valentine's Day and put it on the seat of his truck. So she got the sandwich, this bagel sandwich from the diner, laced it with fentanyl. That's the prosecution's theory. And now the theory of the case, thanks, defense accepted it. I mean, the jury accepted it as fact, found her guilty of attempted murder. But you can hear her and her mother making great fun of this theory. And she said, oh no, I ate in the break room with Eric. No, she didn't. No, she didn't. So that's that. Here's the juror who I really liked. She's the kind of juror I'd like. Hopefully I'll never commit a murder or never be on trial for a murder. Doing a lot of research on a really fascinating case that's on trial. I think shockingly, shock everyone with this, of an innocent man in England on trial for RAPE. We'll get into it soon. Lots to say about that case of Paul Quinn. The English press is just convicting him. Pre-trial. Let's see how that goes.
Conviction of Kouri Richins and a juror from the trial now speaking out.
In an exclusive interview with Good Morning America, she reveals why the jury found Richins guilty. ABC4's Kaylee joins us live from the Silver Summit Courthouse with more on what that juror is saying. Kaylee, good morning.
Good morning, Matt and Alyssa. The jury unanimously deciding that Kouri Richins is guilty of fatally poisoning her.
Yeah, so we got a guilty verdict. Who just said that? Mike just said Nate Eaton. I don't know who that is. Said she, like someone in the courtroom, reporter, said she was shaking like a leaf. They have no courage. They're all such cowards, these killers. That's what I've found.
Richins was found guilty on all counts she was facing, including aggravated murder. As the judge was reading her sentence out loud, Richins just remained looking down. The jury, though, had a difficult decision, as during closing arguments, prosecutors say Richins was obsessed with appearing privileged, affluent, and successful. But the defense was trying to poke holes in that case, saying that it was sloppy and driven by bias, claiming there was reasonable doubt.
So it was so.
So, I mean, how do you say that they had bias against her when they didn't arrest her till a year after the murder? I mean, that tunnel vision investigation thing is really for when they arrest you pretty close to the actual date of the crime. Here's this woman was on Good Morning America. I really liked her.
So amazing to see the difference of opinions people had and different perspective. And that happened often with respect to the different pieces of evidence and the witnesses. But we all led to the same conclusion that she was guilty.
And we'll have more of that.
Not a shocker, right? Not a shocker that they all came to the same conclusion that she was guilty. This is Eric Richins' family. And people are putting flowers on Eric Richins' grave. I was very interested to see that his grave has March 3rd as the date he was murdered. So we know that Kouri Richins didn't call 911. He wasn't found dead until March 4th. But, I mean, they're really making a statement with that headstone saying, we believe Kouri Richins when she said she had this drink, this Moscow Mule at around 9 p.m. So on the 3rd, we take that as the day he died. And they're saying that we believe she waited for hours, which is what the prosecution's theory before calling 911. He was long gone. The blood was pooled in his body.
Since the trial ended.
Eric Richins' grave a day after Kouri Richins' trial, you'd find flowers and decorations.
Oh, here's a really interesting fact, too, is that May 13th, May 13th. Do you see the March 3rd death date here on the tombstone? I thought that was interesting. We love you with our hearts and more. We love you with all our hearts and more. That's what it says on it. And May 13th is when Kouri Richins will be sentenced. Well, she will be sentenced on Eric Richins' birthday. Pretty interesting, right?
Left to honor the man that Eric Richins was and will be remembered as. Monday afternoon, turning into closure and healing for Eric's family after enduring 4 weeks of trial that would determine whether or not their loved family member would see justice or not. Outside the courtroom after Kouri Richins was found guilty on all charges, the cousins of Eric Richins tell me the type of person Eric truly was.
An amazing father, brother, son, nephew, friend. He was everyone's best friend. Everyone that you ask, how do you know Eric? I was his best friend. So he was an amazing person.
And what the 4 weeks of reliving one of the worst memories of their lives was like.
Make their lives as good as we can. I mean, they're a great family.
How taxing has this been, particularly on Jean? You see Katie, Amy crying in there. How's it been for them, watching them go through this?
It's been rough to relive it. It's one thing to have someone pass away and then a year later to have the circumstance kind of flip and you have to deal with that again. And
well, the other people in the family, like Katie Benson, Eric Richins' sister, seem to point to Kouri right away. But I guess when the arrest doesn't come for a year, it just is an unexplained death. But I mean, this is just some of the people that have been affected. Like I always say that these murders have such an effect on such a vast number of people that you don't even, it's not just the family members, it's everyone whose life was touched by Eric Richins is going to be affected some way and feel the grief. It's just, I always say it's like throwing a stone out into a lake, that reverberations from these kind of crimes. You don't heal. It's just you're just sentenced to a life sentence of grief. When they talk about closure, there is no closure with crimes like this. It's just grief. So there's a reason why people are, Kouri Richins probably won't be out in the world. It's because it's such a serious crime. And she's dangerous too. I would not trust Kouri Richins if she didn't murder again. I would be worried she would be defrauding someone. She stole one of her best friend's money for a down payment, $45,000 on a down payment on a house. Okay, here's the, I just wanted to.
Next guys. Part of tricks are not.
So this is the rebuttal to the end of the defense's closing, and here's the prosecution's rebuttal, which happened very quickly after the defense. The defense showed this picture and said that if you look at things, they were talking about bias, I think. If you look at a picture, you can see either a witch or a young woman, right? And they're saying this is not a parlor trick, this prosecution. Take a listen to the very succinct, very short rebuttal. And they saved the majority of the argument about the walk the dog letter, which was the letter to Kouri Richins' mother that was found in Kouri Richins' jail cell, hidden in a book. Obviously, after her arrest and when she was awaiting trial, I think it was found about 3 months into her, after she was arrested.
Next guys. Part of tricks are not legal standards. Legal standards are what matter. Let's review a couple of the important ones. You'll have them in your instructions when you go back to deliberate. Reasonable doubt. I come back to.
Let's go back to that quote real quick. There are few, jury instructions number 25. There are very few things in this world that we know with absolute certainty. And in criminal cases, the law does not require proof that overcomes every possible doubt. So, message to Alan Jackson, who really tried to overstate what reasonable doubt means and said, oh, I'll leave it up to the judge to explain it to you. What a disaster. Anyway, it's not beyond any doubt. The doubt has to be reasonable. Really important thing to remember.
I come back to this one again and again. Evidence usually consists of testimony and exhibits presented at trial. What the lawyers say is not evidence. I come back to this slide in rebuttal precisely because of defense's closing. There's a reason the state provided you in its slides with a cite to every single piece of evidence it argued. We told you what transcript page and line number. We told you what exhibit number.
So what he's saying is he basically spoon-fed this jury the verdict he wanted. He said, here's what we had to prove, here's how we proved it. And then he put the psychological context, the argument, what he thought happened, and connected it, and why he thought it happened, connected to the evidence. Well, why do I think, he didn't say this explicitly, but for example, why do I think Kouri Richins administered this fentanyl to Eric Richins unknowingly in a Moscow Mule that was made without alcohol? Well, we know no alcohol was found in his system, but lots of fentanyl was found. And Kouri Richins always says this incident started with this drink, this lemon drop and this Moscow Mule. And here's how I thought it was made. And here's the evidence of the bottle of ginger beer that she used to make this Moscow Mule in the trash. Here's the testimony of her friend saying she didn't grieve like a widow. She grieved like a black widow. She acted like a black widow. Here you go. Find it here. I mean, they could not have been more organized in their PowerPoint presentation and the way that they argued this and fed it to the jury. So important, and left no wiggle room.
Because what the attorneys say doesn't matter. The evidence is what matters. And there's a reason defense counsel didn't cite you to the evidence. Next slide, Scott. A lot of the evidence is circumstantial. It is. People do not video themselves poisoning their spouse.
That was something that I was saying all through this case when I'd get, they were like unicorns. People who came in occasionally who said, oh, she's innocent. It's such an iffy case. I love circumstantial cases myself. I think they're, because it's all, you can look at all this evidence and it's all consistent and it's all moving towards one conclusion. It's a lot harder to get out of circumstantial evidence. Some of the best evidence, a lot of really good circumstantial evidence. But I think that Prosecutor Bloodworth made a great point there, saying the defense wanted to talk about how it's Kouri Richins and Eric Richins' relationship. There's no, that they said that they were in counseling. They went to marriage counseling. No evidence they ever did that. They promised an opening that they would show testimony that their marriage has never been greater from a friend of theirs, a mutual friend. That never materialized. So they really couldn't cite the evidence. They could only create a narrative. Luckily, the jury didn't buy it, but here you go.
But circumstantial evidence is just as good as direct evidence. You can use circumstantial evidence to conclude facts just as you can use direct evidence. The instruction gives the example of it is wet outside and people are closing up their umbrellas. That makes sense. Let me put it to you a different way. Does everybody know what happened here? Kouri Richins chose common law, but the state didn't. Hold on, let me check.
You're basically saying, apologizing for Carmen Lauber being a crap witness. That was a problem with their case. Another problem was the investigator. They didn't present the investigator till way late in the case, till they showed a lot of other really convincing evidence.
Kouri Richins chose common law, but not the state. Go ahead, Scott. Thanks.
So she's a crap witness because Kouri Richins chose her, possibly profiled her, knowing that she's not a honest person and wouldn't testify honestly if she was caught. I mean, clearly Kouri Richins had getting caught on the mind if she's Googling or looking up on the internet on her phone luxury prisons. She had on the mind that she possibly would get caught and sent to prison. In a strange moment, in a rare moment, rare and strange, I would say, moment of realism for Kouri Richins, who came off in this trial as a fantasist.
Kouri Richins chose Carmen Lauber because she was the drug dealer she knew. The state granted Carmen Lauber immunity because it cares more about a murder case than a drug deal. That should surprise nobody. Kouri Richins chose Carmen Lauber in part because she had control over her. She could help her out. She employed her to some measure. She could help her out. A little quid pro quo. You give me some drugs, I can help you out with your drug court.
Right. Get me some drugs, I can help you out with your drug court. I mean, it reminds you a lot, I think people brought it up, of Donna Adelson taking advantage of someone with a drug problem to get what they wanted. It was, Denise, you were correct. Her mother had a lesbian lover, Trudy, who died of an opiate overdose, who had struggled with opiates, who Kouri Richins really who her mother was the beneficiary financially of her estate, or benefited from her death, but didn't get caught if she was involved in it. Legally, she's totally cleared. Of people who follow this case, we raise an eyebrow at the facts around that case. Looks awfully close to what happened here. Like it might have inspired Kouri Richins. And her mother, when the paramedics reach the scene, her mother is intent on telling the paramedics about Eric Richins and his son going to get allergy shots, as if allergy shots were the cause of his death.
Kouri Richins chose Carmen Lauber, not me. Her testimony is corroborated. If you only believe Carmen Lauber's testimony that is corroborated, that is plenty of proof to convict. She was only at that Maverick in Draper 3 times. That's what the digital evidence shows.
So if you live in the East, we don't have the Maverick gas stations. There are also it can be like, what do you call them? Like a 7-Eleven. I've lost the words.
Each of the 3 times she was there, so was Robert Crozier. Those were the only 3 times he was there. Their testimony corroborates each other in the relevant manner. It corroborates that they met, that he sold her drugs, illicit street drugs, that it had fentanyl. Blues had fentanyl. Corroborates that they weren't prescription drugs. He got them from a plug, not a pharmacy. They were packaged in a little clear baggie, not a prescription bottle. All the testimony of Carmen Lauber and Robert Crozier that matters corroborates each other.
I mean, to be fair here, if you're a drug dealer and you're getting illicit prescription drugs, basically prescription drugs that have found their way onto the black market, not fentanyl made to look like prescription drugs, okay? I would highly doubt that they're going to be passed to you in a prescription bottle, with or without someone's name. I would think that they would be sold in some kind of baggie and weighed, I would think, or counted by the pill. I would think that even prescription drugs don't get on the black market in prescription pill bottles, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I've never been a drug dealer.
So with these transactions, what
go ahead. We've seen this one again. Crozier was at the gas station 3 times. Carmen Lauber was there every time. The March drug deal. Timing of this is very interesting. Shortly after Eric's death, Carmen Lauber spoke with Kouri Richins and asked, "Please tell me these pills were not for him." Of course, she denied it. No. But then, a few days later, she asked for more pills. Curious as to why. Perhaps to cover up that the pills were indeed for Eric. If I ask for more, she'll know they weren't for Eric. It's also interesting that she said she needed something to get her mind. What? I don't know. Maybe she wanted the pills for herself. This suggests she wanted the pills.
I don't think she. I have done an episode on maybe she's taking out life insurance on the kids. Maybe the kids were next. Maybe it was someone in Eric Richards' family. No, she was taking out life insurance policy on female member of Eric Richards' family too.
For herself to calm her mind, which tells you she knows that a pill that she buys from Carmen Lauber is not bad. It's a whole bunch of pills to kill. Consciousness of guilt is evidence of guilt. Kouri.
I thought this was really interesting. This is something that stuck out to me like a sore thumb on the body cam footage. Not only did when Katie Benson, Eric Richins' sister, comes on the scene and wails in real grief, you can see Kouri Richins mirroring her sounds that she's making, her behavior. Katie Katie Richins Benson falls to the floor, and then Kouri falls to the floor and hugs her. It's trying to act just like her, imitate her real grief, because she can only fake grief and parrot Katie's real grief. But also the fact that Kouri Richins tells Katie, you have to explain this to the kids. I can't explain to the kids. And you have to explain what happened to Eric's father, Gene. And she later, in her, I believe it's in her orange notebook, she says that Gene didn't sound surprised when she told him that Eric was found not breathing, and she had to call 911. That basically she's setting it up that maybe Gene Richins killed Eric Richins. She's okay to falsely accuse someone else. She's okay. She's okay if Carmen Lauber or Robert Crozier goes down for her murder, just not her. Anyone but her. She's ruthless. That's what you get from this trial. Ruthless.
She had a guilty conscience. She couldn't talk to her father that night, not because she was overcome by grief, because she couldn't face. She could not face the man whose son she had just murdered. We're going to play these clips right here now. This is when Kouri Richins is asked whether she's going to tell her children, whether she's going to talk to her children. Notice Kouri Richins' reaction in the moment, because this will be Katie Richins' reaction in the moment. Go ahead, Scott.
Where are your children now?
Asleep in that room. 2 are awake with their ear to the door. Come on, let me go out. Please don't come out.
We don't know. We went to bed.
Clint's here. He's gonna help. Where are my boys? This is worse, my brother. No.
Kouri, is there a way you could relocate your boys upstairs? Yeah. Because there's going to be a lot of traffic.
Yeah, I'll tell her.
Kouri Richins walks away. Katie then takes the boys upstairs. In moments of tragedy and profound sorrow, you not only comfort your children, they comfort you. Kouri Richins hides her face because she doesn't know how to react because she is not grieving. She doesn't want to see her other people see her non-reaction. She's not grieving because she feels no grief. She just murdered Eric. You heard Deputy Wynn testify. She wasn't crying. Deputy Wynn's body camera did catch a moment of surprise. That's the moment he informed her that Deputy Wynn, was sending Eric's body for an autopsy. That's her surprise. She didn't tell anybody that night that Eric used fentanyl because she thought she would get away with it. She didn't think anybody would find out that Eric used fentanyl. And the minute Deputy Wynn said, we're sending his body for an autopsy, that's her reaction. The 2016 empty hydrocodone bottle is immaterial. Eric had no hydrocodone in his toxicology results. The only other hydrocodone reference in the entire body of evidence before you is that investigators recovered on the first search warrant a bag, like a Ziploc type bag, full of hydrocodone pills in the laundry room and the mudroom of the house. Perhaps Kouri Richins removed them from that bottle and staged the crime scene. This is also inconsistent with the notion, having those hydrocodone bottles in the house, pills in the house, is inconsistent with the notion that Eric had a secret drug habit and was going to the street for illicit pain pills, and there's a baggie of hydrocodone in the house. Okay, there is no good reason these images were accessed the same exact minute that deputies departed the house the morning that Eric died. None. And there is, by the way, despite what defense counsel just told you.
Wait, let's look at those images for a second. Let me slow it down. It's like, it's amazing that it's not from Dave Chappelle, right? I'm rich, bitch. Like, okay, so there's one from Dumb and Dumber where they're drying their tears with money. What is that Kevin Spacey show? Oh, help me out. Idiots Everywhere. And then Court TV. Why are you on it? Something with Trump saying, I'm something. I don't know. Does anyone know what that meme is?
The house the morning that Eric died. None. And there is, by the way, despite what defense counsel just told you, there is no evidence that Eric Richins sent these images. He sent an image of the Midway Mansion the night before that was accessed at the same time as these images. Sorry, he sent an image of the Midway Mansion the night before, but it was not the image that was accessed at the same time. The image that was accessed at the same time is the distance full view of the Midway Mansion, which makes sense in this context, not the image that Eric sent of the pile of rocks in front of the Midway Mansion. Details matter. We don't know who sent these images, but we do know that they were accessed on Kouri's phone at 8:29, the exact minute that deputies signed the log out of the house, and that whoever accessed them turned the phone this way to view them better. They also viewed the distant image of the Midway Mansion. Maybe she was celebrating the Midway Mansion. Maybe she was celebrating Eric's death. Either way, there is no good reason these images were accessed at 8:29. Kouri Richins minimized how Eric died because she needed to cover up her involvement in Eric's death. The worst minimization was the one to his father. After speaking on March 17th with the medical examiner's office, Kouri Richins told Eric's father, knowing this was not true, that Eric Richins died in part of COVID and in part of the same lung fungus that Jean's wife, Linda.
Someone was asking for Kouri Richins' birthday. I believe it's April 20th, which is the same as Hitler's birthday. That's why I remembered it. 1990, I believe.
That is not only covering up her involvement, that is cruel. She covered up with the medical examiner. She pretended she didn't know what quetiapine was, even though she was prescribed it. She pretended she didn't know what acetaminophen was, even though it's Tylenol. And there is probably not a mother in the United States that does not know what Tylenol is. She pretended she didn't understand the word illicit. She has a master's degree.
I don't know. Have you seen Kouri Richins' writing? It's pretty illiterate. I don't know. I don't know about that argument. There. As someone who's had to read out loud Kouri Richins' writing, I have to say, I'd believe that she's not putting on that she doesn't know what illiterate is. I mean, illiterate. She's definitely illiterate. He's saying that, come on, she knows what illicit means. She went to graduate school. How she passed graduate school is beyond me with that writing.
In feigning ignorance with Dr. Christensen, she was fishing for information to craft her defense. She was asking, was it injected? Did he eat it? She wanted to know what the medical examiners knew so that she could craft around it. She was really worried about the amount of alcohol. On April the 13th, Detective Woody told Kouri Richins that Eric died of fentanyl intoxication. Right after that, she tells Josh, oh, it was just a trace. Chelsea, it was just a trace. It was his lungs that were shot to shit. She is minimizing, deflecting, covering up. She is distancing herself from her murder. Manner of death.
Doris, she didn't write her book. She paid $2,500 to have it written and published for her. And she said she thought she was going to make, I think, what was it, $10 a book and sell over 100,000 copies. Like I said, reality isn't her strong suit. She's a fantasist.
On the death certificate is immaterial. It's a box we check. It's used for statistical purposes. They turn the information over to the Bureau of Vital Statistics. It's immaterial for this case. You determine the manner of death. It's murder, aggravated murder. Perhaps in a perfect world, the medical examiner would amend the death certificate, but you heard Dr. Ulmer. She signed it on June the 6th, 2022, when the investigation was really in its infancy. And she had one foot out the door. It was her best solution to finish her report before she retired. It is what it is.
She wasn't a great witness either for the state. She wasn't all that helpful.
Bureaucrats. Eric did not ingest the THC gummy laced with fentanyl. When asked if she ate one that night by Deputy Wynn, it didn't seem like he did. Toxicology, there was no measurable THC in the toxicology analysis of Eric's blood or gastric. The THC that they collected on the April 13th, 2022 search warrant, right, the first search warrant, it was found in the cabinet above the toilet in the master bathroom. Wasn't there the night before. You heard Deputy David Pimentel talk about how he searched it. You could see his search on the body cam. It wasn't there. It was put there after Eric died. That's where most of the gummies were. There was also a package in the kitchen, which was never searched the night he died. But
I'm really sorry that this is so long that I can't show you all of it, because I really encourage you, if you're interested, even if you didn't watch the trial, I would really encourage you just to watch the prosecution. And if you want to watch the defense, it's not long, but it's not so impressive that that I feel like I have to show you the defense's closing. It's reasonable doubt, conjecture, tunnel vision investigation, the usual stuff we see with defense attorneys. But this will give you such a clear view of the case.
all the gummies were sent to the lab for testing. In fact, the gummies, lots of stuff was sent to the lab for testing. None of it confirmed any fentanyl. Brian Holden, he was a state crime lab tech to testify. Detective Haskell works the streets of Salt Lake City drug.
Well, we also know that the defense tested the gummies for fentanyl, and she says in the walk the dog letter, even if they find fentanyl, the jury didn't see this part, but they're going to say that I put the fentanyl in the gummies. So even best case scenario, they find fentanyl, and there must have been some news story about fentanyl and illicit pot gummies that gave Kouri Richins some hope that they'd find some. And she seemed to have bought a lot of gummies right before she murdered him. Certainly had no problem. They had pictures and pictures of them. And she was counting on this story that Eric Richins had put pot gummies in her bag when they came back from a trip. And they were laughing about it to say that he was buying fentanyl. This is the walk the dog story that he's going to get into in a second, from Mexico, and that she was a drug mule for Eric Richins because Eric Richins was such a terrible person that he didn't mind ruining her reputation, but he just wanted to protect his reputation. Oh, I mean, this is the biggest victim blaming defense.
His whole career, never seen fentanyl laced marijuana. That's that's cover up. That's misdirection. Kouri Richins' plan, if it was a plan, to make money on the Midway mansion is not tethered to reality. Across her portfolio, she lost money, and she lost money on nearly every individual project. She even admitted, it's out of my league, but the margins are so insane that I had to pick it up and then figure it out. Ha, 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 help. That's ha, ha, ha with $3.2 million of other people's money.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was 3.2 million, not 2.2 million. Oh, la. Maybe it was 2.2 and then extra money on renovate. I don't have 3 million for renovations. Coming up with a 2.9 is going to be a challenge enough. I thought it was maybe it was almost 3 million. It's on swampland. Nobody wanted it. So maybe she bargained them down to 2.2.
She is intensely ambitious. Her plan was not tethered to reality because she could not, with more money than she could even imagine, overcome the Corps of Engineers holds on this property. Not going to happen. She asked Eric Richins for input on how much it would cost to rehab the house. That's the text string right there. Read the whole thing. You'll see that she sold the Midway Mansion to him, not as a project they were doing, but as just a sale that she was brokering.
Jam down, free. True, boys. Yep, come back in the corner with us. There we go.
So this is the celebration of life party that Kouri Richins held. And I paused it on the same exact frame multiple times when I showed this video. I showed it so many times. It make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Here are friends around gathered, and I think those are her children or her friend's children. Hard to tell. I think that's her friend's child. But gather around an kitchen island, doing shots and doing beers like shotgun style with poking the hole in the middle of the can and drinking it sideways as fast as they can. And Kouri Richins is smiling and hugging the fridge and trying not to be filmed.
Richard?
Yep.
Richard.
Oh! You're an Afghanistan warrior.
You are an Afghanistan warrior.
People grieve differently. There's no ancient artwork of that photograph. This book provides kind of three pieces of insight into Kouri Richins. The first is she wrote it, had it written, and published it in early 2023 when she knew that investigators were investigating her for the murder of Eric Richins. She promoted it. Her mother sent a book to investigators, all to deflect attention away from Kouri Richins. She also wrote it to make money. You see the emails, they're in evidence. She thought she would sell 100,000 copies in 10 months at $5 profit a copy. That is not tethered to reality. But it does provide insight in how desperate she was for money. She would trade on her sons.
That's a shot of Kouri Richins' mother, Lisa Darden, again, whose lesbian lover in 2006, Trudy, overdosed on opiates after struggling with opiates. Lisa Darden benefited from that death and financially from her estate, from Trudy's estate.
And the death of her father to make money. The final thing that tells you about Kouri Richins is that she wanted, as part of her facade, as part of her appearance of success, privilege, and affluence, she wanted to be an author. But she didn't write it. And you can see from her writings and text messages, Orange Notebook, the notes, the Walk the Dog letter, not only did she not write it, she's not a good writer. But she wanted to appear as one.
She's not a good writer. That isn't the understatement of the year. She's a barely literate. I mean, she can't even make agreements. It's so just the just the writing is, I mean, I think someone said 4th grade level. I don't know. Maybe 2nd grade level. I don't know. Really bad, really terrible writer. But she doesn't have any feelings. Like you would think that grief, writing a book about grief, even a children's book. So you don't have to be a great writer, right? To write a children's book. Doesn't have to be sophisticated language. Someone could help you with the grammar and the making the tenses agree at least. But she didn't have any grief to write about. She didn't have any feelings to express. She didn't have any care for her own kids and their own grief, or else she wouldn't have murdered Eric Richins.
Appearance was what was important to her. In defense's closing, when you strip out rhetoric that could be argued at any closing, anytime, anywhere, on any case, when you strip that out of defense's closing and you hone in on substance, the entire substance of the defense's argument is based around trying to explain the walk the dog letter.
It's really interesting. I would say it's trying to avoid the walk the dog letter. I'm saying it's giving you defense cliches, tunnel vision investigation. This is what you always hear. You also always hear all these arguments in innocence fraud campaigns too, coincidentally. Tunnel vision investigation, biased investigation, a police error, can't trust the evidence. What else? The forensics are junk science. I mean, there's so much more. Reasonable doubt. Just keep hammering home reasonable doubt. But don't actually talk about the actual evidence or the testimony.
Kouri Richins is saddled with this letter and needed to craft a defense around this letter. It's obvious that the letter was written to get her brother to testify to a narrative that would explain everything. Let's unpack the letter in about 15 or so sentences, not with what Kouri Richins wrote, but with what the evidence shows. It's a translation from what Kouri Richins wrote to what the evidence shows. First part, here's what I'm thinking, but you have to talk to Ronnie. He would potentially have to testify to this, but it's super short.
Yeah, she wants her brother. She's so callous and so ruthless that she'll have her brother potentially go down for perjury. And she could have gone down for witness tampering. They just didn't bother because the rest of the charges are so overwhelming that why even bother? But she could have.
What the evidence shows is it says, I'm thinking that if you tell Ronnie to testify to what I'm about to write, it will explain everything and I will not get convicted. Ronnie will need to tell this to my lawyer because I just made it up and it will have to come from him. Never mind that I was arrested 4 months ago.
What Kouri writes, what Kouri really means. Pretty smart, right? Oh, a year prior to Eric's death, Ronnie was over watching football one Sunday, and Eric and Ronnie, this is Kouri Richins' made-up story. A year prior to Eric's death, Ronnie was over watching football one Sunday, and Eric and Ronnie were chatting about Eric's Mexico trips. Eric told Ronnie he gets...
I need an excuse for Ronnie and Eric to be hanging out. Never mind that football season ended a month earlier. I need to explain the fentanyl, and fentanyl must be everywhere in Mexico. Never mind that Eric would have to fly with the fentanyl, and I later say that Eric would not fly with drugs for fear of getting caught. Never mind that I know this story despite Ronnie never telling me.
Right, that was a theme in this case. Kouri Richins, the psychic. Kouri Richins knows that her kids are listening at the door when the EMTs are there. She knows how they're feeling, according to her orange notebook, when the EMTs are there. She knows what they've seen in that room, what they've observed. We never heard in this trial anything from her children, what they observed that night or what they observed before Eric's murder. It would be fascinating to find out if Kouri Richins had tried to direct her children to say certain things and coach them on what to say.
I need to explain why everyone will testify that Eric never used drugs.
Right. Eric never wanted anyone to know he had an issue, especially get caught. He always wanted Kouri to go down for him. So she starts writing about herself in the third person. When they traveled, Eric would put his drugs in Kouri's bag at the airlines right before they boarded. That way, if they were caught, Kouri got in trouble, not him. Once they got to wherever, see how her R's look like N's? They were wherever they were going, Eric would pull the drugs out of her bag and it would cause a huge fight.
This kind of happened once with THC gummies on a trip to Hawaii. Hopefully this is enough to corroborate my entire walk the dog story.
Kouri has never done any type of pills, didn't like them. This is from the Walk the Dog story. Rarely would she consume THC, only if Eric begged her, because that's what your partner does when they really love taking THC gummies, is to just beg their partner to take some of their stash. Only if Eric begged her and it was a special occasion. Kouri's real drug is money and power. And she doesn't feel particularly powerful on THC, so she doesn't do it.
I need to distance myself from fentanyl.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too. Reword this,
These are my
however.
made-up words, but Ronnie can make up his own words.
Oh, see? She's trying to make fun of it, trying to tell the jury to ignore it. She's scared, but you just look at her eyes and cover the rest of her face. You can see that she's frightened for herself. She knows she's in trouble. I mean, psychopaths are very good at reading the room, reading how other people are feeling. She knows how the jury isn't looking at her lovingly.
Ronnie does not say these things. I'm convicted.
They never found pain pills or fentanyl in my house because he had it in allergy pill bottles. How would she know that if she didn't know he had a problem? And Cody emptied out the work truck within a week. So this made me wonder if she put the pills she got from Carmen Lauber in her work truck in an allergy bottle. And Cody Wright, Eric Richins' business partner and friend, threw them out. So they were never found. And so her alibi to Eric Richins' secret drug problem was never found. I wonder if that's what happened to those pills.
I need to explain why investigators never found a trace of fentanyl in my home. Never mind that it doesn't make sense that Eric hid the fentanyl after asking me to buy it. Don't get caught passing this made-up story along to Ronnie. That would be horrible.
Yeah, it was horrible. And her defense team fought like heck to get this walk the dog letter thrown out so the jury would never hear it. They didn't hear the first very damning paragraph of it, where she talks about her lawyer, Sky Lazaro, and how she's crafting a defense for Kouri Richins, all based on Eric buying these drugs in Mexico. And that they have a private investigator investigating Eric Richins and his relationship with Mexican cartels. LOL.
Tell Ronnie to keep the story short so that he does not mess it up. Since his conversation with Eric never happened, tell him that it was only 2 minutes long. Ronnie needs to do this so that I do not get convicted. I can then extract revenge on Eric's sisters.
And get those damn bitches. I guess that's what he meant, but I didn't know if that was the prosecution So it says, tell him I need him to do this. Bring me home, and then we will get those damn bitches. I guess that's what she means, because she was in civil litigation. I think she still is with Eric Richins' family.
Remember, I just made this story up, so my lawyer does not know it yet.
Hang in there. We're almost done. She told her friend she would fight
All the
this.
evidence in this case proves that Kouri Richins murdered her husband and the father of her 3 children, Eric Richins. There is no other rational explanation for the evidence. And despite all the evidence, Kouri Richins clings to the facade that has enabled her to get away with so much for so long. And despite all the evidence, Kouri Richins doubles down and blames Eric.
So how did this turn out? How did this all turn out for Kouri? Big spoiler alert. Here we go. This is the verdict being read.
Ms. Richins, it is my practice to ask all the lawyers and the defendant to stand in respect for the jury as I read the verdict. I just don't want you to be surprised. Okay. Mr. Bloodworth, are we ready for the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Lewis?
We are.
All right.
So he gives a warning, which every judge gives before a verdict is read, which is there will be no outbursts, et cetera, et cetera. I was surprised to hear a reporter saying they were shocked by those instructions, but that they were so out of the ordinary, but they're very ordinary instructions. Uh-oh. Look at her lawyer, Kathy Nestor, knows what's up. Check this out. She's scanning the jury. They're probably not looking at Kouri Richins. Check out Kathy Nestor on the right here. She knows what's coming. Kouri Richins just observed the jury not looking at her. I made sure when I was a jury, I looked at the defendant when I came in. I didn't want to tip him off. The guilty verdict. But Kouri Richins is hoping that what she is observing isn't the verdict.
Okay.
That's really kind of you to say, Charles. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you, Roberta, Charles. Mirasola 7741 says you are the voice of reason. And he's also a new member. Enjoy the emojis. Thanks for becoming a member, and thanks for the super chat supporting the stream. I appreciate it. Inquisitively just hit me with a question. Will medical examiner change Eric's? Great question. Inquisitively 2026. I don't know. Good question. Really good question. She's not working there anymore, so she wouldn't change it. I don't know. What happens in these cases? Does anyone know with more experience than I do? That'd be interesting to find out. Sorry, I don't have an answer.
As you come in. Stand. May I ask you a yes or no question? Has the jury reached a unanimous verdict? Yes, we have. Would you please hand the verdict form to the deputy, and you can have a seat. Thank you.
Isn't that a reporter who's behind Kouri Richins who's doing the slow blinks like he's on trial for for murder. Isn't that a reporter? Am I wrong? Right behind Kouri Richins in the nice looking glasses.
All right. Counsel, Ms. Richins, please stand. Count 1,
Oh,
aggravated
that's
murder.
right.
We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins.
Thank you. It's one of her lawyers. I knew I recognized him. I was like, thank you. It's one of her lawyers. Thank you for correcting me. I appreciate that, TM. I appreciate that. Thank you. So no wonder he knows what's coming. Everybody knows what's coming. This is like the only one person that I've covered has been more guilty than Kouri Richins. And that's Purvis Payne, Kim Kardashian's pet murderer.
Richins is guilty of aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously agree that the prosecution has proved.
I don't know if she's deflated. I'd say she's playing the victim. Right? Appearances are everything. So
The following circumstance or circumstances regarding count 1 beyond a reasonable doubt. The homicide was committed for pecuniary gain, and the homicide was committed by means of the administration of any substance administered in a lethal amount, dosage, or quantity. Count 2, attempted aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of attempted aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously agree the prosecution has proved the following circumstance or circumstances regarding count 2 beyond a reasonable doubt. The attempted homicide was committed for pecuniary gain. Count 3, insurance fraud. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of insurance fraud. Count 4, insurance fraud. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of insurance fraud. Count 5, forgery. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri.
it's just relief. Relief. They don't have to come to court, hopefully, too much. I would think that Kouri Richins is going to try to appeal. I think she's going to be another Pam Smart. I think she's going to be always finding the press and trying to appeal her case. I don't think she's going to have any luck. I don't know, but you know what? Who thought that I'm thinking of the murderer in California who killed Scott Peterson. Who thought the Innocence Project would take up his case? Wait till the horror and wait till the public sentiment kind of passes, and then you come out with a new documentary saying they got it all wrong, and it was the court of public opinion. Basically, they reverse everything and watch Kouri Richins reverse her conviction. Could happen. Crazier. I mean, Scott Peterson, thank God, hasn't been successful, but their Innocence Project is trying.
Richins is guilty of forgery. It's signed by the foreperson. Please have a seat. Madam Foreperson, is this the verdict that the jury reached unanimously?
Right. So my advice to you, before you support anybody and believe anything that the Innocence Project tells you, go to the transcripts, go to the appeals documents, go to the actual source documents in the case. Do not believe the Innocence Project is my advice. As someone who's looked at a lot of the Innocence Project propaganda over, I think I'm going on 9 years now doing this podcast, and I was researching it before. Highly recommend before you support any innocence campaign. of anyone, whether the Innocence Project's involved or not. I just happen to know intimately how they work.
Yes, it is.
Okay, you may have a seat. Ms. Lewis, Ms. Nestor, do you wish the jury to be polled?
Yes, please.
All right. Folks, I'll ask you the same yes or no question, one at a time, starting on my left, working this way. Front row first. If you could show me your lanyard number as I...
So that they look so alike, Amy and Katie. I think that's Amy there. Look at that. Look at the face she just made. That's relief.
Ms. Lewis, Ms. Nestor, do you wish the jury to be polled?
Yes, please.
All right. Folks, I'll ask you the same yes or no question.
So they're going to poll the jury. They're all going to say yes. That was our vote. I mean, what you do when you're a defense attorney, why you poll the juries, you're hoping one jury has second thoughts and says, no, wait, I changed my mind. It's not my vote. So that was rather long, but I really did want to try to cover what I thought were some of the highlights of that amazing closing, what well organized, well argued, thoughtful, psychological, excellent closing by Prosecutor Bloodworth. Congratulations. I'm so happy for the Richins family that they only have to be in court, at least for a while, for the sentencing and give their victim impact statements then, or write them and they'll be read by the judge or read out loud at the sentencing. We'll see how it goes. It's May 13th. I'm hoping to cover it. Thanks so much for listening. Please support the channel. Links are in the description of this and every episode. Buy me a coffee, Venmo, Patreon, all great ways to support the channel. Please hit the thumbs up on your way out. I think that's all the self-promotion that I can do that I'm pretty terrible at. Wasn't the state amazing, TM? Yeah, she's getting life without parole, I hope. On Eric Richins' birthday. Everybody seems to think that that is an ironic twist to this. It's like a movie, really, this whole story. The truth is stranger than fiction. I mean, this is a really like a murder plot that someone would write. And good-looking family, right? Kouri Richins and Eric Richins and their children looked from the outside. Appearances are everything, right? For Kouri Richins, looked like they were living the American dream. The truth of her finances, $7.5 million in debt, say something else. All right, have a great one, guys. I'll be back, if not tomorrow, Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Have a great night, everyone. See you then.
Mic check, Roberta strides through the static haze. True crime Gotham where the shadows play their plays. Fraudsters fold when a spotlight beams. Fact-focused queen busting propaganda schemes. Glass shatter lies echoes through the streets. Standing for victims, giving voice their beats. NYC Post, truth sharp as night. Roberta exposing, she's the anti-fraud light. Hard task warrior, dissecting state and defense. Twisted innocence, claims breaking pretense. Gotham's truth seeker cuts clean with the blade. Facts in the forefront, no justice gets swayed. Cold facts drip heavy, real talk unfurls. Cracking cases open like oysters with pearls. Innocence gimmicks crumble to dust in the wind. For victims, her creed, justice till the end. Headphones blazing, she drops heavy artillery. Narratives twisted, meet blunt object civility. Roberta got receipts that unravel the ploy, exposing the lies these fraudsters deploy. Glass shatters lies, echoes through the streets, standing for victims, giving voice their beats. NYC Post, true sharp as night. Roberta exposing she's the anti-fraud light.